I swear to you, it's been one of those days, start to finish. It's been one of those days. It's Car Con Carne. It is quarantine con carne. I'm not driving my car anywhere. I've got Bobby Talamine on the other end of this conversation. He is a rock and roll photographer. He is a fantastic rock and roll photographer. We're going to do a little show and tell tonight on quarantine con carne. I'm James Van Alstel. This podcast couldn't exist right now if not for the generous support of C&H Financial Services. If you, a business owner, are looking for someone to help you navigate through the world, someone to help eliminate the fees when people pay with credit cards, when the world gets back to normal, C&H Financial Services. Go to freeprocessingnow.com and get set up. So, Bobby, you are a rock and roll photographer. When did you start? Did you start as an amateur and transition to a pro?
Yes, I did. Amateur 1975, pro 1982, if you want to call it that.
So you were a kid basically at that point.
I take my gear into shows back in the 70s because I had no idea. But yes, 1982 with wax tracks. Technically, that's where my starting point was. Although there was no such thing as a staff photographer for wax tracks, I would just show up daily, anything, just daily. Whatever event, I was there and I was photographing it. My career built from that.
So you were Jim and Danny's guy.
Well, I don't know if that's the case because Gene Ambo was a metal photographer per se, but he was also in the mix. Quite a few photographers were in the mix. Again, I don't think there was any such thing as a staff photographer. I would just show up at if it was a meet and greet inside the store or just the store itself or any kind of event, whether it be Medusa's, the Metro, you name it. Having that label in Chicago was a godsend, and having them start all those bands in Chicago for the industrial music scene was a godsend.
For sure. So as we're talking about your career, as we're talking about photography and all that, I want to show off your top 10. You've been doing this long enough. You have some favorites, some picks of the litter, so to speak.
Yeah.
So hang on. I'm going to get working this technology out. I've already had probably the most major technology fuck up I could have had leading into this interview.
Oh, so we can swear. I didn't realize that.
Well, we're not on the radio. Yeah. And to be clear, I'm swearing because it was a genuine fuck up. Like there was no other way to describe what just happened. All right, so we're going to kind of walk through your history here, and I'm going to share my screen as I do it.
Not a problem. As long as I can hear you, that's totally cool.
So I'm going to share. All right, at this point, we can see the files, and I renamed all the files so that no one can actually see what they are.
It looks like David Bowie.
Well, hang on. Yeah. We're not there yet. I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, I can just see it's black and white, arms outstretched. It's got to be David.
It is David, and now I got to figure out how to share it. This is annoying.
Can you just highlight it? Click it?
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. There we go. There's David Bowie.
I have to tell you with doing that this is from film. This is actually a large print in my office.
Oh, is it?
In my
How could it not be?
So not fuzzy. The actual photo is sharp as I just figured get Bowie up there one way or the other. All my Bowie stuff is film. It's not been digitalized yet or converted to. So I love this image.
When was this taken? This looks 90s. This looks...
Yeah, this actually was, I think, called the reality tour from... I wrote them down because I'm getting old and I forget things. Give me 2 seconds with the David Bowie.
We have nothing but time. We're not going anywhere. Literally, for at least another month, we're not going anywhere.
2004 reality tour.
Okay.
No, 2000. Hold on, I take that back. 9 Inch Nails, no. Area tour. Earthling tour, 1997, Aragon Ballroom.
Nailed it.
Reeves Gabriels was the guitar player. That's why I was there. It was because of Reeves.
I was at that show as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Cool.
Seriously, Bowie for me has always been a top 5 artist from the time I was a kid. Like we could talk at length about that man's history, but seeing him at the Aragon was it was transcendent. I mean, just that guy playing those songs that up close, it was mind blowing.
Intimate, awesome. I totally agree. Life affirming. Never will forget that show either. The fact that he had those 2 giant orbs left and right that were like lit up.
Yep.
2 round balls. Remember? I don't know if you saw them or not. Remember that?
I do.
It was a visual display, and Reeves was in a feather boa for his guitar. It was just like, this is class.
right, I'm going to share the next picture. Don't spoil it.
Okay.
I'm going to pull it up on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen.
A nightmare is this.
A fun nightmare.
Well, what was this from? The 35th anniversary tour, November 09 from the United Center. I don't know, this tour had been going on for like 26 dates prior. And I guess what you see in the photo is Gene has a new torch.
Mm-hmm.
So I think somewhere in Pensacola, about 7 dates prior to hitting the United Center in Chicago, they were trying to get the best photos of this and Gene blowing fire. And they were failing, I assume. So when I got the call from Doc McGee's camp, the question was, Bobby, are you free whatever night that was in November? You want to shoot Gene with fire? And I go, well, yeah, but let me guess. I'm not the first on the list as far as you calling. And they go, what do you mean by that? I go, well, you're calling me because I assume you're not getting the photo you want. I see the tour in front of me here. There's like, X amount of dates and you're not getting the photo. And they said, that would be correct. I go, well, and this is a week prior. It's like, yeah, count me in, I'll do it. But the problem was why all the photographers prior to me were failing with the shot. I would look online and there was mediocre images of Gene blowing the fire with the torch. And you can ask my wife that I was freaking out at 2 a.m, visualizing what the fuck the problem was with getting this shot. And I guess the 4th day of nightmares, I figured it out. Everyone's shooting from the photo pit, not from above. I saw it 3-dimensionally in my head as far as Gene with the fire. And it's like, you shoot above, you'll catch the facial expression, the dome of fire, the torch, the whole 9 yards. So the following day, I called Doc McGee's camp and I said, yes, I think I figured this out, but I need a huge favor. At the United Center, can you do me a favor? I need section 121. I need like 2 seats, front, back, and side, so that I have enough room to take the shot. And the other thing, please do not tell Gene at all that I'm there shooting. They didn't follow through on the second thing, because the reason why I asked that was because I didn't want Gene to come over to my side of the stage looking for me, which he did. Like, where's the photographer? Now everyone's hands are up. Obstructions, like everything that could possibly go wrong with what I described did. And boom, it's still, I don't know how I got it, but I put my camera above my head, above the arms outstretched of everybody, and I fired away like 35 shots to get this shot that you see right here. And it worked. Gobsmacked. This photo of Gene with the fire has the same kind of validation as it did when Kiss Alive first came out back in 74, 75, that kind of vibe, which I totally love.
And this is early 21st
iconic
century.
Photo. Yeah, true.
Totally iconic photo.
That's what I was looking for back then, was to catch that kind of regalness of back in early Kiss. And lo and behold, I caught, actually the fireball is bigger than this. And the reason I love the photo is you can see the kerosene that wasn't lit falling to the ground. So.
Yes. All right. So the next photo on this list, I think is one of the most, I think it could be the most striking of what you chose for the top 10. Let me share it real quick.
Sure.
This is just visually, the way this picture is composed, I think is really something special. And I'm going to pull it up right now. This is In the Rain. It is Lord.
Were you there for this at Lala?
I was not. I've made a point of not going to Lollapalooza for 15 years at this point.
Got it.
Unashamedly so. So no, I missed the Lord set. Tell me about this.
Lord was on the North stage. I think there was that the Bud Light stage back in the day, and then I don't know what they called the South stage. That was Muse. And Lollapalooza is ahead of the curve as far as weather, predictions and warnings. And the day was cloudy. There was the chance of rain or thunderstorms towards the evening. But I'm telling you, before Lord came on, here's the other thing. 45 photographers in the press pool, only 10 were approved. I was one of them, which I thought, whoa, that's awesome. Lord, are you kidding? Let's do this. But like an hour before she went on the stage, I had never seen an orange, yellow blob of scary, like literally building up in Oak Park, right off of the Eisenhower. You can see it just, this storm getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is like 30 yards from the stage. You're seeing it advance east to the lakefront. when came out on stage, it was light rain, but within like literally a minute, 10 seconds into the first song, it was a deluge. I've never seen rain that hard fall that fast. Quarter-size raindrops hitting, flooding the pit. Of the 10 photographers there, 6 automatically bailed from the rain. Only 3 of us remain throughout the whole thing. Ashley Resin from the Sun-Times, me, and Dan Klutznick. And I'm in the pit, and I figured in my head, this is insanity, but if she's out there performing in the rain, dude, suck it up. You're going to be out there until this is, whatever, documented. But everything was soaked. I'd hide I figured, all right, this is not working out as well as I expected. Why don't you just experiment? If the camera goes bluey, it goes bluey from the water. I slowed down everything, shutter speed, everything. I wanted to capture as much rain as possible.
And what I love about this picture, one of the many things, I mean, I love the way the colors work on this. Looking at Lord's face, she is in it. She is performing. She looks oblivious to the fact that it is a deluge out there, that it is torrential. It's just a shitstorm all around. And I love that contrast.
Well, I appreciate that, James. That's sweet of you. But yeah, my camera would come out. I would take 4 or 5 shots, and I'd hide it back under my shirt, so it wouldn't get totally blasted with the rain. Right after this shot is when they shut everything down with Lollapalooza, and there's a multitude of photos where you can see her like so visibly shaken and upset. She's bawling she's in a fetal position on the stage, bawling that this had to end within 2.5 songs of the performance. So what happened? After I figured, all right, the day's done. I went to the Starbucks over at Roosevelt and Wabash because there's an internet signal there. And I downloaded the images, and I saw this image. And I was like, well, you know what? Screw it. Send this to Rolling Stone. You never know. So I sent it to Rolling Stone, and like 6 a.m, Ahmed Fakir, the head of the social media for Rolling Stone, goes, dude, how soon can you get me a high-res image of this? The story is broken big as far as Lord canceling, not big of her will from the blah, 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 blah. And I sent him the photo. It appeared in the internet version and then in the magazine version. And when it appeared in Rolling Stone on the internet, that's when NBC, CBS, and ABC called me for their national news. They want the shot. So
that's amazing. So when people ever say to you, hey, Bobby, have you shot anyone famous ever? Do you show them this next picture?
No, but I should. This is another. Can I explain something?
Yes.
He hasn't even played a note yet at Lollapalooza. This is like 30 feet entering the stage to the applause. Why did the other 18 photographers approve of this? I don't know why this didn't. I'm baffled at this. No offense to the other photographers, but I fell in love with this photo because it's a genuine, emotional, happy-go-lucky, enjoying the moment. It's everything you love about Paul McCartney is in that photo.
It's
but
true.
This is not even the first 30 seconds of the show without even playing a note. But thank you for saying that. I should do that. What you said, if people think I photographed everybody, use this. But
can we all agree?
That's the reason why I wanted to present. What?
Can we all agree that we should all be so lucky as to age like Paul McCartney? Look at this dude.
Oh my God, absolutely.
The years and the lives and the things this man's been through, and look at how good he looks. This is a great shot. It does capture the essence of who Paul McCartney is, without a doubt. All right, so I'm going to pull up the next picture. Hang on, I'm maneuvering through technology. Oh, this is one. This may require some introduction as to who we're looking at here, because it might not be obvious to people.
That's one of my iconic photos. This is Maynard James Keenan of Tool, also from Lollapalooza. And it was a nightmare to get this photo. This is not, I fought all day. The restrictions were coming into the press tent that it was the photographers that were going to be approved can only shoot the first 2 songs.
Right.
And I didn't want to raise a stink in the press tent, but in my head, that was unacceptable. I do know the road manager of Tool. I've been working with that band since they were at the original Lollapalooza way back when. And I fought tooth and nail. This is from like 12 o'clock in the afternoon up till the time that they were to play. I was fighting left and right. They finally said I can shoot from the crowd in a certain spot off of the rail. There was a gigantic rail to split up the mosh pits that went out like what they do now currently with the South Stage. 40 yards out, mosh pits left and right, so the security can try to control it. I told security where I was and to watch out for me, and they did. The first song on that set list was Zombie. Within the first 10 seconds of the song, the swell going forward was so strong that either A, I release my leg or I'm going to break it. So I did. And next thing you know, I'm body surfing with camera gear. I end up in the middle of a mosh pit with half a dozen Marines. I gave them $100. And I told them, can you do me a favor? Can you protect me for like the next couple songs? I got to try to get some decent shots from here. And they did. They were pummeling people, tossing them over. You should see the photos before and after. It's just bodies flying.
This is really going the extra length to get your shot. This is above and beyond.
And look at the imagery. They don't even do this anymore. Everything is, it's all done by Adam as far as the graphics, Adam Jones, but this was lit. They don't really light it up like this, like they did back at Lala or that tour in general. That's what I love about the photo. And the fact that there's a sampled keyboard, which Maynard doesn't even really use anymore. And he's speaking into a speakerphone. But yeah, that's one of my iconic shots. But it was the pain and punishment to get the photo. That's why I've always kept it on my website.
I love it. And Jack Morris on the Facebook live chat says, no intro needed for Maynard. There you go. And Kiki says, body surfer Bobby. And you got to get physical. This is a gig. You gotta earn it. The next pictures, it's a kind of a two-parter here, kind of like the Gene Simmons was a two-parter.
Yeah.
The Professor, Neil Peart.
So heartbreaking. I mean,
he was the best. He was the best.
Private guy. This is another nightmare. Although it's not the nightmare of this photograph, the nightmare to getting approval to shoot this kind of stuff beyond the 3 songs. And I got to mention a name, Rick Sudikoff. You may know him back from the days of Atlantic Records.
Everyone who's worked in Chicago for more than a minute knows Rick Sudikoff.
God bless Rick. What a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, he gave me, he's at the top of the list as far as granting me access to bands under the Atlantic umbrella, you know, as a favor or as a way of trying to, he's not a photographer, but in essence, mentoring to some extent. And it took years to get the approvals from the Rush team beyond Rick. But Rick was the catapult to talk with Ray Daniels, the head of their manager with SRO, to convince them that you have Finn Costello doing pose photography and some live, but the live photography is it's inadequate. Whether you use me or not, it's inadequate. This took 6 years, James, to convince them to give me a shot at it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Rick Sudikoff, who worked for Atlantic Records forever. I knew him when I was at Q101 and XRT in the Zone. He reminded me of Scotty from Star Trek. Every time you'd ask him for something, he'd be like, I don't know if I can do it. It's going to be too hard. We don't have enough warp coils. Yeah, we're going to go through hyperspace. But then he'd always deliver it, and he'd make it happen.
Always.
Just like Scotty on Star Trek.
Like he needed to vent, and then he understood.
Yes.
And then proceeded. God bless.
So what year was this? Because this, to me, could be any of the Rush shows from the
Snakes and Arrows tour, I think. So that would have been in Milwaukee, Summerfest.
So that was probably 2007, 2008, maybe?
This isn't Tom Sawyer, but it's a song. It's, I think, Subdivisions where he has to lean forward and hit the cymbals hard. So this is like a half a second before the cymbals and the crash of the cymbals. Which is what
there's a part 2 that I want to show people to the Professor here, and I'm going to share that right now. This is probably one of my favorite shots ever.
Oh, James.
Neil in action.
Again, like a second before he catches the drumstick. And this is 2112, Temples of Sphinx, you know, dun 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 bum bum. There's a gap, like a 10-second gap before Alex comes in with the guitar where he can fling it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to so many shows and I've seen it fail, and it's such a delight when he actually does it to perfection. You know, and the stick is in a second before he has to begin the song again. So I asked him, finally now I have access to Neil over a sound check, and I brought this up. And I go, there's a lot going on with your drum flick. And he goes, oh, you know, now he's talking like a mathematician. Oh, you just don't know. Boy, so many things can go awry. This is, Neil being Neil. Sometimes I can get so excited, I fling it too high forward. It hits the cymbals. Sometimes the stick will go behind me 10 feet. There's a matter of the height, how high in velocity, and I got to dial it down to make sure the height is about probably 11, 12 feet before it can come down and hit at the right time. I'm going, so this is like math, like Rush music.
Yeah,
And he
that
goes,
sounds right.
laughed out loud and said, yes. This is one of Neil loved this shot. So
The next shot here is another absolute icon,
oh,
the mighty Patti Smith.
I was late to Riot Fest. I forget. I think, was it the Buzzcocks that were playing at the same time back in, when was it, 2014, when the Cure were headlining? By the way, right behind the back of Patty was a lineup of half the Cure, Simon Gallup and whatnot, and all the people that were on this stage during the day were there to watch her play.
I believe that.
This is the last song. Got permission to, again, this is from the crowd, not from the pit, but got permission from her camp. Lenny Kay is a sweetheart. I've known the guy for years. That's how I got the permission for this. But it's the song Rock and Roll with the N-Word. Yep. It's a rebellious tune. It's not meant, as far as the N-word, to be vicious. It's about rising up. So yes, at the end of the song, this is where she's already said her rant about people banding together and striking a cause. And then the tearing of the strings is like, yes. This is the definition of renegade rock and roll all in one photo, in my opinion.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed was the soulfulness in her face. Then I looked to the right. I'm like, oh yeah, all those strings are off. She went at that hard.
She's the coolest. Warrior poet times 10 is Patti Smith.
This next picture, kind of along the lines of what I was just saying, you don't necessarily notice everything at first. My eye went straight to the bottom of the picture at first. This is Waters and Gilmore.
Correct. Never will happen again.
Right, for sure. For sure. It took me a while to realize that Gilmore's standing on top of the wall.
And it was that was a 6-night stand at the O2 Arena. I made the request for all 6 nights. Management immediately got back to me that this is an unacceptable request. You can join the other photographers on the first night only. And I thought, all right, so they're going to be that way. I might in with Rogers and touring with, I was one of his photographers for the North American tour prior to this. So I put a text out to Harry Waters, his son, who is also the organ player. He takes over all Rick Wright's parts. And Harry gave the okay for me to come in for all 6 nights. This was the second night at the O2 Arena. Word was David was going to make an appearance, but no one's talking. Opening night, I never seen so many photographers in the pit. Must have been 40 of them that were approved. Ironically, I was the only photographer there for night number 2. All songs.
That's so amazing.
Comfortably Numb comes in after the intermission, right? It's like an hour and a half in. And then lo and behold, Roger, says, look up. And there's David with that black Strat starting the song off. And I've looked around the venue, and I'm getting chills telling you this, but I've never seen so many grown men crying to infinity, bawling their eyes out.
Something they never thought they'd ever see.
They'd never, exactly. So this photo went nationwide since I was the only photographer there. I blew through like 400 photos just for this song alone to capture the solo of David at the top of the wall and Roger at the bottom looking. But can I tell you an awkward moment? Yeah. Obviously, Roger Waters, during the height of Pink Floyd towards Animals and Beyond, was the evil villain for the band upon, the whole animosity, leaving and quitting. David being the soft-spoken, intelligent one, Roger being the emotional one as far as screw everybody. At the end, outside the wall, the last song, Roger, I'm telling you, it's like a complete 180 because there's Nick Mason to Roger's right, David to his left, playing the song. And as the song ends, Roger comes over, puts his arm around David to tell him good job and stuff. And you would think David Gilmour was being touched by radioactivity from Chernobyl with that hug. He wanted nothing. The awkward nature of that, seeing Roger now being the happy-go-lucky guy and David being like the animosity, screw you kind of dude. I'm just doing this for the whatever. Man, oh man. But still, iconic. Never will happen again.
It is a fantastic picture. So this next one, this is someone who isn't a household name, but for my money, I've loved this band to death for as long as I can remember. Oh. This is Matt Johnson of The. His voice.
My all-time heroes.
Oh, I last time I saw The was probably like 1993. I mean, it's
Mind Bomb.
No, Mind Bomb was 89. I think Dusk was the one right after that. Like,
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
He was touring with Depeche Mode then, opening. I don't know if he was. He actually did a show with at the Metro But that was like the Naked Self, Nine Inch
That's
Nails.
it. That he did like I think it was the Hank Williams tour, the
Oh yeah, that
Pinky
was also
Pinky.
superb too. But this is guy, I had to put him up there with Bob Dylan. Literally, singing, songwriting, craft, everything. I've been working with Matt Johnson and the since Soul Mining, technically, literally, with Epic Records back then. I've always wanted to get a capture of his emotion, and finally, here in the night that Cold Wave started, I think 2018, he was headlining the Riviera, and I finally caught it. He's just, oh my God, iconic is an understatement. All of The's music to this day. It's you talk to my wife. There's a stack of The next to my desk table. I have to listen to it at least once a week. Something.
Yeah,
Soul Mining,
his
Mind
voice
Mob.
is. I mean, Love is Stronger Than Death. The Kingdom of Rain, that thing he did with Sinead O'Connor, and
Right.
This Is the Day is still one of the most legendary songs to emerge from the 1980s by far.
I've been waiting for tomorrow all my life. I swear people would go apeshit at Exit when it was on Wells to that song. It was bedlam as far as people just wanting to mosh and do the circle pit to that song.
It's weird. The night of 9/11, I was on the air at WXRT, and I was the night jock at that point, and I remember playing Slow Motion Replay by the on the radio, and it just every time 9/11 comes up, I think about that song and that band, which is an interesting connection to make, given what I'm connecting it to.
You're a sharp guy. That's a perfect song to fit that kind of emotional moment. Really, it is.
Yeah, lyrically, it was a fit, and I
Oh
did
yeah,
choose
man,
that.
it's
Yeah.
to the gut with him. Emotionally, man, brilliant singer-songwriter. Lyrics are supreme. I agree. One of my all-time favorite heroes is Matt Johnson.
Amen. All right, let's talk about influence. One of the most influential guys of the past 30 years, Trent Reznor.
Oh, without a doubt.
Is this a young Trent? He looks really young in this picture. He doesn't look as
Downward spiral tour.
Okay. He doesn't look as buff. I mean, he looks buff, but he doesn't look like.
You can tell he's got the fetish thing going with the gloves.
Yes.
He had the real tight black shorts too back then. If I wanted to really pull up the image vertical, but man, Step Right. This is from March of the Pigs. This song, and this is bedlam because this is where he's throwing keyboards, microphones. This is where he's. I checked on my liner notes from this is actually filmed before digital, and this line of 8 images is March of the Pigs, Step Right Up from the first song. Step right up, march.
Now I'm trying to remember back to that tour. I want to say Nine Inch Nails played UIC Pavilion on that tour. Am I crazy?
3 different dates, right? Riviera nightclub to start the tour back in the day, and then it was another stop in Chicago, and then yes, UIC with Marilyn Manson and Hole.
That's right. Oh boy. Yeah. Wow. This is a great shot. This is Trent Reznor. This is the face of the alternative nation circa 1994.
Oh yeah.
I love it. So how much your archives must be a blast to play through and
if you
wander
would
through.
Come to Chesterton and down to my vault, you would your jaw would hit the floor. I mean, none of this
I'm going to treat that as an invitation for once we emerge from COVID-19. I'm coming your way.
You have the best ribs in Porter, Wagner's Ribs. I'll take you to that, and you can spend hours downstairs with me because a lot of those images you're seeing are blown up into museum quality fine art pieces. I've got 87 of them that are literally 30 by 40 that really only see the light of day maybe twice a year. And I like showing them off, I'm bringing them out.
Oh, I totally want to come over and nerd out with you. I completely want to do that. As long as I can take some pictures, take some pictures.
So that was the 10, huh? We really zipped through them.
That was the 10. The business of rock and roll photography, and you kind of talked about it as it related to Tool and Rush. Artists or artist management, or I don't know who's doing it, is making it very difficult for photographers to make a living off being photographers. And this first 3 song rule seems like such horseshit because bands don't start revving up until about song number 6 or 7. Like you don't get the true feeling of a band until they're halfway through their set.
Unless you're a tour photographer or really, one of the band members. Correct. Yes. You're right.
Why do they do that?
It changed with Paul Knack, and another fellow iconic photographer would tell you that it happened right around the time of Bruce Springsteen and Madonna making their headway into MTV, which would be what, 84, 85, 86, give or take?
Right.
It was the wild, wild west, though, in the 80s as far as bands, and that becoming more of de rigueur per show is the first few songs, no flash, no matter the size of the venue. It's unfortunate, but you're right. You need a day job. Or unless you're Kevin Mazur and you're out in New York, which is the top cream of the crop photographers in New York, or you're Jeffrey Kravitz on the West Coast. But I'm stuck here in Chicago. How can I make the inroad to go beyond the three? It's a fight, but I enjoy it. I'm telling you, equal to actually photographing the show is convincing said band or manager that I'm worth their time and energy to shoot the entire thing. Doesn't happen often, but it happens enough where I'm satisfied and the band is more than satisfied.
The other thing that photographers face is, yeah, you can shoot, but you have to do it from the soundboard.
Oh, another brutal, right? And there's 10 photographers with you getting the same shot. Yeah, it's another frustrating thing, but who can you argue with? I mean, that kind of notice comes out maybe 5 hours before you actually hit the venue, and you have no chance to fight the fight. It's not
right,
like
you already planned your night and whatever else around shooting that show. So, okay, soundboard it is. That sucks.
Soundboard, correct. And now you're talking about audience distractions and stuff. You're fighting through 30 yards of people to get the shot to the stage.
Exactly. Are there artists who just are naturally photogenic, who you can't wait to shoot? You just know no matter what the situation, you're going to get gold on film?
Yeah, Brian Ferry, Roxy Music. That's the elegance of it.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be dressed to the nines. The band's going to be cool, and it's going to be well lit. The vibe prior to the show is going to be extraordinary. Just the build up to him hitting the stage and the celebration of the music. Oh man, I'm telling you about when Ravinia announced that he's going to be playing there in August. So I was like, you know what? August, come now, please.
All right, it's funny, Bobby, as we're talking, right above my desk, I have.
Oh my God, is that Bet Nor?
No, this is the Mamona tour.
Oh, Mamona, get out of here! God, was that
Erie Crown Theater?
Erie Crown at McCormick, yeah. Was it under the tent? I think he had a tent.
It was elaborate, I remember. But yeah, I mean, every time I sit in front of my computer, I look at my autographed Brian Ferry.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Because I agree.
I envy you. Go, James.
Oh, but I love, I mean, you're right. There's nothing like Brian Ferry. There's nothing like, I mean, I saw Roxy Music at the Allstate probably 19, 20 years ago when they did the reunion thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't totally the same, but I was happy to say, yeah, I saw Out of the Blue live. I saw Avalon live. It was thrilling for me just seeing those guys on stage doing those songs, doing what they do, looking cool as hell.
It's an event. That's nothing like it.
Who was a happy accident? Who was an artist you shot where you went in thinking, this is going to be a work night, and you walked away thinking, oh my gosh, this was wonderful?
The EDM acts, electronic dance music. I mean, I heard about Dead Mouse in the Ears and stuff, but I didn't realize the technical, way ahead of the curve kind of production. You know, all right, he's got the mouse ears and stuff, and he's playing the keyboards and samples and stuff. Blew me away. It's just the technical proficiency of his music and the visual and the production. I went in there skeptical. I left there converted. Not all EDM artists are up to that as far as massive budget, but the ones that are, oh my God, it's just an extraordinary experience. Crowd, audio, everything top of the line. The beats per minute are going through your chest and everything. But I'm telling you, I'm a fan of EDM, not all of it, but the ones that do it elegantly and with professionalism and like with top of the line audio visual, oh my God. I guess Felstein's another one I was just blown away by. I heard about him in Coachella. Vanta Block. This is a very rich dude from a rich family in Paris who loves EDM, and it's like the blackest substance known to man. And I heard from a fellow photographer that was misery to shoot because my camera at Coachella was like photographing him. It was like photographing into a black hole. We couldn't get any focus, autofocus or not. I got, wait, this sounds like a challenge. And he's playing the Aragon Ballroom. I'll give it a shot. Lo and behold, everything Vanta Block, the keyboards, the monoliths that he plays with, the actual facial and outfit. And I had to go manual to get got some shots, but boy, talk about a production that was like, kind of like Brian Ferry and Roxy Music. It was a red carpet of who's who of the elegant people of Chicago came out to that show.
The elegant people.
That was more entertaining almost. Gets Felstein as far as fashionistas by the thousands coming in the venue.
So knowing the entire concert business is on hold for who knows when, 1 month, 2 months, we don't know. That definitely slows your life down considerably. How are you handling COVID-19? How are you handling sheltering at home?
A day at a time, an hour at a time, it just depends. But I find myself I'm looking at behind the live feed of us, and there's like 36 edits that I have to get to. So I am keeping busy that I've not gotten around to posting.
And I don't want to keep you from that. I'm going to ask the question I know the answer to, but I know people who are watching or listening are wondering, could they get prints of your stuff? Do you sell prints?
I do, but I posted a photo of Jamie Duffy. I gave it to her I actually found it because I had all this time on my hands from Wax Trax Retrospectacle. I didn't realize he was playing guitar with Revolting Cocks. And I don't know why I singled him out, but I did on one shot. And when I gave it to Pat Mama Kid Duffy, Jamie's mother, she immediately posted on Facebook. I've got 30 requests as far as people wanting to pay anything, top dollar, you name it, just to get an enlargement of it. So the answer to that question is yes, but it's not done at Walgreens or CVS. No offense to them. It's hand done with this place called Latitude in Chicago to my specs. And it's not cheap. An 8x10 is like $26, but it's done the way it should be done as far as a quality photo. If people want to come up with, then am I making money off it? No, that's the cost to get the print done. So what do I do? Do I charge 35? I don't know. I don't care. I'd rather just whoever wants this, again, it's Jamie Duffy. I don't know how, I'm getting mixed up in this answer, but suffice it to say yes to the question, but it's got to be done with quality in mind. And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, it's closed up.
Yeah,
who knows when they'll open, but yes, I do sell prints.
Well, Bobby, I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of running into you all over Chicago, as I frequently do.
Thank you, James.
So when this whole thing lifts, when this cloud of pandemic lifts, I'm coming to your place. We're eating ribs. We're looking through photos. I'm going to block out like 5 hours to hang out with you, and we're just going to.
You're more than welcome.
We're going to geek out.
I'd love that more than anything, James. You're that cool, man. You're one of the. I got to say this about you and the way, because I see you getting all in your perch and your station at like Rad Fest. You're all lined up ready for the interviews. But James, the cool thing that you cannot teach about interviewing, and you in particular, and Marty Leonard's is another one, where you're the same off stage as you are on. There's no shtick. You're not your voice. That's what's so cool about you. You're just a natural for this. That needs to be said.
That's very kind, and that's always a goal of mine. So thank you very much. All right,
Very
Bobby,
welcome.
Thank you for your time. I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook Live. I want to thank everyone who is hanging out, listening, ogling your pictures. Just a quick scan here. I see Athena. I see Natalie. I see Will, Jack, Jeffrey, Kiki, Wesley, David, Giorgio, Jennifer, Chewy, just so many people. Thank you. If I didn't mention you, John, just said great interview. Thank you for watching and listening. It is Quarantine Con Carne.